Afternoon everybody, and welcome to part 2 in this 3-part series on Georgia on My Mind. In part 1 we learned the chords and the basic melody for this. Now we're going to tackle a chord melody. I'd recommend checking out the link in the description so you can watch my performance video on this chord melody so you know how it's supposed to sound. Also there'll be a link in there to get hold of lesson materials that has everything you need neatly typed up in Guitar Pro and PDF formats. Okay, let's get straight into it. So we start on the 1, the F major 7. The melody is right there within the chord. Next chord, E minor 11. And then we need to imply A7. So we just flatten that note on the G string to the major 3rd of A. So far. Then D minor 7. Hey Luke. And then we're on to the D minor 7. Where we're going to do this little bass run and just grab what we can on the middle strings to harmonize it. So we've really got a D minor over C, a B minor 7 flat 5, and then a B flat minor 7. Back to the 1, D9, G minor 7, C13. Then we get into this 3-6-2-5 progression. It's like a turnaround. We start with the A minor 7, D7 with a flat 9. All these voicings on the top 4 strings are really useful. You'll notice how this is also a diminished chord. G minor 7, C7 with a couple of nice alterations in there. We've got a flat 9 and a sharp 5. And if you want to make it sound even heavier, bring the 5th in the bass as well as the root by barring those 2 thick strings with the tip of your 2nd finger. So that would be... And then we start the 2nd A section. We're back on the F major 7, hammering onto the major 3rd on the B string with the little finger. Then we have this E minor 11 with a flattened 5th. We play a little passing chord to the A7, B flat 7 to A7, 3-note voicings. Descend an A7 arpeggio to the D minor 7, where we repeat pretty much the same thing we played the first time round. To the F major 7, where again we have a 1-6-2-5. This time the melody drops an octave down on the G minor 7. Then we have the C13 again, but then we use a tritone substitution on that, moving the bass note up 3 whole tones. Tritone gives us a G flat 7 with a sharp 9. I did an entire video on tritone substitution. If you want to go back and check that out, I'd definitely recommend it. Then we resolve that. F6. Now at this point we're in our 2nd ending for the A section. Got the F6, the E flat 9, the F over A, and then we have a G minor 6 and an A7 with the flat 7, the G, in the bass. Really cool voicing for a dominant chord, that. This then resolves to a D minor with F in the bass. So we're following that bass run down. G minor 6, A7, D minor. A nice way of playing a 2-5-1 in D minor. As we said last time, that G minor 6 is really just an inversion of E minor 7 flat 5. Okay, now we're into the B section, where again we're going to be really focusing a lot on the top 4 strings. As opposed to when we learned the basic changes, we stayed on the lower strings, stayed out of the way of the top notes. Now we're kind of doing the opposite. We're using a lot of block chords on the top 4 strings. So you got your D minor with F in the bass, then E minor 7 flat 5 to A7, so that's your 2-5. And then we're going to go D minor to B flat 9, where you can see this again looks like a minor 7 flat 5 chord. This could be D minor 7 flat 5. It could also be F minor 6 if you're taking this top note as the root. But in this case, we're going to see it as a rootless voicing for a B flat dominant chord, where we can think of it as being constructed from the third of the chord, from the D. So now you've got this. You can always bring the root in with the thumb there at the end. Then we repeat this part. And we go D minor 7 to G7. Again, that's a 2-5, this time in the key of C. But we don't resolve it to C in this song, we just leave it hanging. D minor 7 to G7. Then we're going to bring in a bit of counterpoint harmony and do something a little different. Rather than just playing this the same again, we're going to visualize this D minor triad as a sort of target zone. Hit the open D string, play the next two notes of your triad, and then bring in some counterpoint harmony. Bring the G string down a semitone and the B string up a whole tone, which if you think about that, that really implies an A7. So you got D minor, A7, but it sounds really cool when you leave this D string ringing in the bass. Okay, and then we play. We're going to keep that D string alive, and we're going to come up to what looks like a D minor 7. 10 on the G, 13 on the B, 10 on the top E. So that sounds like this. Then we're resolving to the E7 chord. We're putting a flat 9 in there. So you got the 5th, the flat 9, the 3rd, and the root. Really good voicing for an E7. Take that top note down a whole tone and you've got your diminished for the next note. And then we're back to A minor 7. Bring the little finger down to the B string to get the melody at the 10th fret. Then D7 flat 9 again. And again, this looks like a diminished chord. Treat it like it's a diminished chord and move it down 3 frets to invert it. And then resolve that. G minor 9. And then we go down to a C7. Same thing as we had earlier, just the top 4 strings of it. C7 with a flat 9 and a sharp 5. So you'll end up with this really nice rundown at the end there. Starting on the A minor 7, that sounds like this. If I take it from the counterpoint line, then we're back to another A section, so we're resolving this C7 to an F major. We're going to go for this F major 7 on the top 4 strings. Then move up to this F6 9, again just the top 4 strings of a regular chord shape. We're just doing away with the root. Then in a call and response type of way, we're going to come down with this afterwards. Using notes from F major triads, you can visualize this and this. Root position, second inversion triads, and just take the lower 2 notes of each one. So that's. And then we're going to do this nice little variation on that 2-5 idea. We're going to play. So that would be E minor 7 flat 5, then move the melody down, come down through the next couple of strings. Take that note down a semitone to the C sharp, so now again you've got that implied A7. So that would be like a 2, 5, then we're going to play the sharpened 5th. This here is just an augmented chord functioning as an A7 sharp 5. You've got the 3rd, the root, the sharp 5, and the 3rd again. And then resolve to a D minor by simply grabbing the root on the open D string. A simple way to approach and navigate a 2-5-1. Just look through the chords and see what you can come up with. And then we're back to this bluesy kind of thing, where we had that descending bass line before. But we're going to play it slightly differently. So what was that? That would be D minor over C. This here really is just all part of your D minor blues scale. I'm using my thumb there to grab this, and I've ended up with a B minor 7 flat 5 as a byproduct of that. And then you've got B flat minor 6, where we can bring the melody in on the B string. Now instead of going to an F major 7, we're going to go to the 3 chord, the A minor 7, just like we did earlier. And then the D9 is the same as before. G minor 7, we're going to still use this voicing, but we're going to move it to the top 4 strings, just so that we can grab this really nice C9 chord. So what is this? This is a C13. Flat 7, 9, 3rd, 13. Often you'll see that played this way, with the root in the bass. But we've just gone again for the top 4 strings, mostly so we can do this and flatten the 9. And then that resolves to F6 again. So that would be... Okay, and then we're getting into our ending, where we used that lovely Ladybird turnaround, that Wes Montgomery type of thing. F6, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G flat major 7, F major 7. Using a lot of voicings on the top 4 strings again there. On the sheet, I've included an alternate ending. I didn't do this in the performance, but it's a really nice option to have. F6, and we're just going to keep picking out this top string of the chord with these quarter note triplets. And then instead of A flat major 7, we're going to go A flat dominant 13, D flat major 7. So that's unchanged, that one. And then G flat major 7, we're going to use this really nice voicing, which is essentially, it's like you've taken your open E chord a couple of frets up to the G flat, and then you've added the major 7 on the B string. But instead of stretching like that, I prefer to bar the A and D strings with the tip of that second finger. This technique is really useful, especially for jazz chords and chord melody. It's something that I noticed Chet Atkins did a lot, and Tommy Emmanuel talks about learning to do it. And it takes a bit of practice. You just got to try and aim for the wood in between the 2 strings and try and sort of spread the flesh of the finger to catch them both. I learned to do it over a period of time just by any chord like an A minor. I would force myself to get those 2 strings, the G and the D strings, with that second finger. Same for E minor. And then eventually it starts to happen. For ages I couldn't grab the 2 strings, but it, you know, like anything, you practice it, it'll work out in the end. So there's your G flat major 7. And then we're going to finish by dropping that down a semitone to F major 7, but we're also going to catch that top string with the little finger. So kind of a good test of your finger strength and your ability to keep the poise of the fingers when applying pressure in multiple places like that. Really good things to work on. So here's how that alternate ending sounds. Okay, so that about covers us for the chord melody. Again, I would recommend getting hold of the lesson materials by going to the link in the description. Seeing this stuff written down gives you the ability to be able to take your time with it. You know, obviously in these videos we're just kind of rushing through a little bit, and I'm just speaking about the things that require a bit more attention. I do, of course, teach privately, and in those lessons, obviously, we pace things for the student. So things are a bit slower, we take our time, really get the hang of each element. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Please do like, share, subscribe, all the usual stuff. It massively helps. And next time we'll get on to part 3, which will be improvising over these changes. I think we'll throw a curveball as well to freshen things up. We'll move the key from the key of F to the key of D. So get those changes from last week and transpose them to the key of D. That can be kind of like homework. It's really good to learn to do that. You never know what key you're going to be needed to play something in. And enjoy. I'll see you next week, guys. Take care.